I'm sure in the main segment we'll talk about some specials and some things. Excuse me, they just timed it to where they're not here right now or the rest of the week. Maybe they've got travel plans for Easter Sunday that takes them out to go with family and to not be where their home designation is, and they don't want to take their currency. They want to keep it, let's say, home and maybe even do their exchange early next week. That's okay, that's doable, but I surely wouldn't wait very long. I would not wait very long just because, um, it's just good to go ahead and get it, especially if you're a Zim holder. If you're holding Zim, you want to go ahead and get in and get exchanged ideally in the first 4 days. I would say between now, hopefully, and Saturday. I would say now some banks, and I don't know about all banks, guys. I'm sorry, I don't know. But some banks will probably close for Friday, for Good Friday. But that's not going to apply to the redemption centers. They are currently on engaged status now. They went on engaged status a few days ago, and they are staying on that, which means they are ready to go now, as soon as the word is given, as soon as everything happens. Okay? Now, I can't go super deep on real specific intel right now. I've been asked not to, but I will tell you that my understanding is things have occurred in Iraq, which showed up in the Gazette this morning, that were very, very positive and sort of what we were looking for. We know that the dinar is trading up in value and should continue up in value over the next 4 or 5 days. It will continue to rise. Now, will that come into play as far as your exchange? It could. It could. If you're going for so-called screen rates or non-NDA rate for the dinar, you may want to take that into consideration. But I can't tell you when the rates are going to be the highest or any of that. They're great now. And I'll say this, if you have more than one currency, or if you have Zim in addition to dinar or dong or rupiah, you're covered. You're fine. It isn't going to matter in the long run whether you go in the next couple of days, let's say, for example, or whether you went Friday or Saturday, for example. It probably isn't going to make a whole lot of difference in the long run, even though I believe they will continue to probably trade the rates up a little bit to get them exactly where they want them to be. All the currencies, basically, my understanding is, are gold-backed. Even our own now has been released. The TRNs were released. We think the USN, our actual new US dollar note, is gold-backed, and that's going to be a change for us. I'm not going to look for any kind of announcement right away, but we do think that we that use the redemption centers will have access to up to $10,000 in our new currency, the USN. USN, let's say, why is it N instead of D? N stands for new US dollar, okay? Just like in Iraq, it's IQN instead of IQD. And the same thing's going to be true of Vietnam, VNN instead of VND. Now, you won't have to sweat it on those designations. We always worried about that years ago when we knew those would change. They know you have dinar, they know you have dong, they know you have rupiah, they know you have Zim, they know you have Afghani. And we'll just see, it shouldn't be a big deal when you go in. They'll know, and they'll be using the De La Rue machines to run the currency through, and they'll do the counting and calculating. But what I want you to do is go in confident but not arrogant. I want you to go in with a good attitude, an humble attitude, but I want you to go in feeling very confident about what it is we're doing and what we've been called to do. So the projects, if you will, the humanitarian projects that we all have and that we've talked about, everything from the Veterans Retreat Network all the way to Rebuild America and everything in between under the TAP group, meaning the Abundance Project, you know, everything that we've got is something that you guys can all participate in. And of course, we have a plan for the veterans, and it's an extensive plan with retreat sites planned all over the country. Like I think we had about 85 2 or 3 years ago, and my thinking is we'll have that many or more. You know, the way we set that up is going to be something we'll talk about, something we'll let you guys know how we're planning to do that. And then there's one other little program that I haven't talked about in a long time, and it's called Streets to Retreat. And what it has to do with is the concept of homeless veterans that have been committing suicide at a rate of about 22 per day in the United States, which is a horrible thing. And our plan, like some people that are already doing this, is to take these veterans and try to help them get assistance and get their lives back by starting off with some housing, okay, that we put together for them in various cities across the country to try to help them get off the street. If they have got drug problems, we try to help them with that within the community, through the clinics, through whatever, and then give them lodging, okay, where they can feel safe and they can get off of the street and get back into something like one-bedroom, accommodations, and we're going to ask our veterans to help us rebuild the hotels. We're going to ask, and some of the inns and so on that we're going to pick up and buy, some of the houses that we can use for this across the country. And we'll have veterans that will be working with us to rehabilitate these dwellings, and we'll also have the veterans that we plan to help. Hopefully, they'll be able to help by helping to clean up or to paint or to do something, whatever they're qualified for, in and around the building, as a way to say, hey, thank you for helping to keep this property up. And as a result, you can live here, rent-free, and so-called get your life back. And then we're going to try to help them with, obviously, counseling, possibly PTSD counseling there, and so on. And let's say, for example, somebody's there for maybe 6 months, and they're getting their life back together. They've got a safe place to live. They've got food to eat there because we provide that. And the health services are helping them to just get healthy again. Once they reach a certain point, we offer them the opportunity to go to the retreat that they want to go to for additional job training, possibly additional PTSD counseling, for sports venues and recreation, other job opportunities themselves that present themselves at various retreats around the country, and that's when we go from streets to retreat. That's the thing. And we'll be launching this in various cities. I met some people over the weekend that are doing this very thing in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'll be in touch with them and see if they want to join us with our program. We know we had people down in Florida that were doing or starting to do the same type of thing. I think we'll have pilot cities initially working on this, and I'll have leaders that will put together to take that program and try to get that program going too while we're building out our retreats. Our retreats aren't going to be ready immediately right away. Some will come online a little quicker than others, and maybe we can get between 5 and 10 to come online in the first, let's say 4 to 6 months. That might be optimistic, but let's go with that. And so, we're going to have opportunities for veterans, for jobs. We should be the largest employer of veterans in the country, and I'm going to put very qualified people that are possibly former military working in those areas with our vets and be in leadership positions. For example, retired colonels, retired generals, and so on. And we have a sort of an area that Bob's familiar with where we can start to source this type of talent, but we can source them from different parts of the country as well. So I'm looking forward to getting that going for our veterans and also putting a program together for pastors and missionaries, and that's with our pastoral retreat network. Not pastoral, pastoral, AL, retreat network. And that would be, I think we had 16 to 20 people that would like to help us do that in various parts of the country where ministers of the gospel, missionaries could come in for a week or 2 weeks or whatever they need to essentially get recharged, get rebooted. And they also have a chance to work on their projects, maybe look into funding for their projects that they're doing back in various countries where missionaries may have come off the field, and then they're going back in a few weeks or a month or whatever, or 2 months or whatever it is. We want to help them, and we can help them financially as well. If they have a need, we'll be able to help them with that and send them back equipped, to serve. And I'm looking forward to that with our Pastoral Retreat Network. Now, we have other things that we've talked about on the big call, like community gardens, like clean water projects and water wells, water filtration programs that Bob is kind of our leading expert on. And we've got lots of plans to do this, and aquaponics on our retreat sites. We've got plans to do community gardens in the inner cities. And I think that all fits in nicely with our Rebuild America program. And so if you don't have a program to come forward with or to talk about, you can talk intelligently about the Rebuild America program. Because I think everybody in the Redemption Centers by now has heard of it. And if they haven't, you just tell them gently what it's about. It's about a group of us, hopefully at least 5,000 of us on the big call, working together to adopt a city, adopt a town, adopt a community throughout the United States. The theory was, let's get 100 cities or towns or communities in each of the 50 states. And let's find the ones that need the most help with housing, possibly with infrastructure. And it can be any number of projects. It could be new clinics. It can be health clinics. It could be, it could be a recreation center. Maybe even one that is not inner city, but we can have the kids that are inner city taken to. And maybe it's a little bit in the country. Maybe it's a little bit out there where they get fresh air and they're not, hanging on the street corner, but they said, wow, there's a whole other world out there we didn't know about, and it might only be 10 or 20 miles from where they're staying right now in the city. A lot of places you guys go, you see across the country, you'll see cities, and then not too far out past the suburbs, you get into a little country, and you've got an opportunity to really get out. You got petting zoos, you got, things that you can learn out there, out in the country, possibly on farms, whatever. We're going to have that kind of stuff where we can have those field trips, if you will. We'll have opportunities out there for people to learn. We'll also be, using mentorship ideas in the inner city to try to mentor the kids and help them, to give them leadership ideas. Apprenticeships also for the older kids that want to help us rebuild America. They can learn to be an apprentice to electricians, to plumbers, other contractors, bricklayers, carpenters, and they can get out there and sort of help. They might be helpers initially, but they can begin to learn these trades. And we'll have opportunities for them to go further. So I kind of like the idea of, listen, not everybody's cut out for a 4-year degree in college. College is too expensive for most people. They get buried in student loans. We want to help people to be educated, yes. but we also want to help them to be able to come out and have a job, a decent paying job. That's why on all of our retreat, or most of our veterans retreat sites, we plan to have job training for decent jobs. Some of them will be jobs that might be computer oriented or data center oriented, and some of them might be jobs that would be more hands-on, working with your hands. Maybe retrofitting some of the cars that we're going to work on for LP gas or other types of fuels. I mean, we've got a lot of things we can do, guys. Really quite a lot. And what we're going to try to do is combine our ideas, okay, and open up a new portal and a new website and a new way to do podcasts for the Big Call, so that you guys can communicate, and we can communicate with a blog site, and we can just, put a template out there of what it is we're trying to do in, let's say, this city or that place or that one over there. And then you can take a look and say, I like what they're doing in Albuquerque. I wonder if that'll work here in Denver. Or I wonder if the building system that they're using in St. Louis, okay, would work over in this area of the country, and so on and so forth. So I think we're going to share ideas so we don't, all of us have to reinvent the wheel, but where you guys can say, hey, I like that. I like what they're doing with housing there. I like what they're doing with low energy housing and some of the building techniques. And we're going to partner with some of the bigger suppliers in the country, like Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. You have to say it that way, Menards. And other ones like Sutherland's and the regional regional suppliers, and then the national corporations like Kohler for fixtures, possibly Whole House Generators. I know that's where I'm going for my Whole House generator, is going to Kohler. So guys, I just think, and there are a lot more that I haven't mentioned, I'm sure. And will we partner with some of these corporations in some ways? I think so. I really do. I think it'll behoove us to do that. And are you saying, Bruce, are you going to be the leader of everything in the world? No, but I'm an idea guy. I'm a visionary. I have plans that I would like to see come to fruition. Some of you guys are going to be the ones that might help me do that. But we're going to hire people that will take these concepts, make them happen. And a lot of the people that will do this are former military or retired military. That I'm going to say, hey, here's the concept. This is how I see it rolling out. Do you think it's something that you could be part of? Does it resonate with you that we can do it this way? And I think we're going to work in teams. I'm all about team building. And I really think we can work as teams and do this all over the country. I might be asking some of you people that are listening to the Big Call, in Big Call country, if you like to help us by being a leader in your state. But don't ask me what that means right now. I'm not sure, other than somebody that can help me put the information out, somebody that can maybe help coordinate with other employed people that we plan to employ to help us throughout the country. And you say, well, what about the rest of the world, Bruce? This is Rebuild America. What about the third and fourth world countries? Yeah, we're talking about doing some things there. We've got a lot of people, I'm sure, that have a heart for Central America, like Pastor Stephen and Bob and I do. And some people that have a heart for countries in Africa, or even in the Caribbean, or the Philippines, or the Far East even, or India. Oh my gosh, guys, the list is quite long. But we'll try to coordinate people that have a heart for certain areas and see if we can match people up and put people together. We're going to try to do it in the most possible secure way. Our website, everything will be totally as secure as it can possibly be. And I'm not the expert on that, but we've got people that can do that. And we'll create a way for us to stay in touch I'm going to try to have podcast type calls online. Maybe we'll also have it so you can dial in if you want to use a phone, but most of the stuff will be online where you can just click on it and listen, or click on the link and listen to a recorded call. But all of that's going to take a little time to set up. That's why if this is our last call prior to the blessing, then you'll be directed to the 800 number on the bigcall.net website, and then we will put it out in a couple of different areas online in the community if we do get the toll-free number, which I expect that to happen. I would be honored if we do get that, and they know that I feel that way. So we'll see how that goes. But once we get that, whenever it is I'm allowed to put it out, I will do that, and we will have a fairly short 15, 20-minute celebration call that we'll put on our website as a link. And you'll be able to click on that and listen to us. And then, of course, you'll have the 800 number not only on the call, but also on the website, on the landing page of the website. You won't have to look very far for it. It'll be right there. I'll make sure Ken puts it in a very good place where it'll be obvious, and we'll label it so you know what it is. But that is sort of what I wanted to talk about in terms of our future projects. Now, in terms of our exchange protocol, we haven't gone over that in a while, but I think we all know we're going to need a couple of forms of picture ID. If you have a passport, bring it. If you have a driver's license, bring that. Student ID, if you're younger and you're a student and you don't have a passport yet, whatever, bring picture ID. Also bring a copy of a utility bill that's fairly current, that has your address on it, so that it has your name and address on it, so they see you're a real person and you live in a real place somewhere. Okay? And you'll have that available. And then anything that related to your project or what it is you want to do as an outline, usually a bullet point outline of, let's say, 1 to 3 pages. You don't need to go into deep detail. But I think by 1 to 3 pages, you can take that and present that very nicely. And then if you want to make extra copies, you can make some copies and leave one copy with your exchange partners at the Redemption Center. My personal thought is, don't give them that copy, okay, until you've explained enough of it to them where you feel comfortable letting them read something. Because they're not going to have time to do a whole lot of reading. It might be nice for them to be able to flip through. They'll look at the format. They'll look at a few bullet points. They'll flip the page. It's like, okay, I got an idea what this person is all about. Your outline might include Rebuild America as something that you want to use as a project. That's fine. I want it to be something that is cooperative, something that we do together, okay, as a team. And that's why I'm looking for 5,000 or more listeners to the Big Call to help me with this. Because I think we've got something that works very nicely with the President Trump's concept of making America great again, making America safe again. We can do that with our Rebuild America program. Okay? So let's do that. Let's see what else we've got to talk about tonight. When it comes to the redemption centers, guys, there will be security there. You're going to be leaving your phones in the car. Obviously, if you're packing heat, don't be taking that into the redemption center. They have armed security for us there. Leave anything like that in your car, in the glove compartment, locked up where it's safe. Okay? You may want to write down ahead of time the license plate tag of the vehicle you plan to use. Some people are talking about renting cars. Some people are going to use their own car. But if you have that license plate number, you might be asked that number, maybe asked that number when you set your appointment, so that they know, hey, when that vehicle comes in, they'll be able to see that license tag. They'll be able to watch it. There'll be photo surveillance going on. You know, this is a big deal, guys, and they may want to know that. I don't know that they will. I was told about that a long time ago. I don't know if it's still valid or not. I know that there'll be drones in the air around there. I know that there'll be top security in place, and we are on engaged status. We are now currently on engaged status, so they are ready when the time is given to go. All right, let's see what else we have tonight. I think that this could be considered a daytime event in terms of when appointments are to be set to go to the redemption centers. I believe that is the desire to start in the day. I don't know when. I don't know if all banks have to be open across the country, meaning all the way to California. I don't think Hawaii comes into the mix as far as that goes. Really, nothing against Hawaii. They'll come up and do their thing over there. And some of those people will fly from Hawaii to the mainland to exchange in the redemption centers here. It's one thing I haven't found out. I'm sure that there are redemption centers in Hawaii, at least on Oahu. I would almost bet money on it if I were a betting man, which I'm not. All right, so really, when you think about it, we want to be confident. We want to be very relaxed. Some of that's in the breathing. I'm sure Sue will talk a little bit about that, maybe Bob too, about just being able to breathe. I want you guys to look around when you get there and realize this is a big deal, but I want you to enjoy it. This is a major event in your life. And I want you to feel good about it. I don't want you to feel nervous. I want you to feel confident. I want you to smile. I'm going to have to remind myself to come in and smile and not just come in with this look of panic on my face, right? I'm going to come in and smile. I'm going to engage. I'm going to look into my exchange team's eyes. I'm going to look and look them in the eye, and I'm not going to try to be super funny. I'm not going to try to be a crazy man. I'm just going to be straightforward and try to be myself without being too funny, and just enjoy the experience. I'm going to try to learn something. I'm going to try not to talk too much like I'm doing now, but I really want to enjoy the experience, find out what the options are for the structured payouts. My understanding the last time I heard was 5, 15, and 30 years. 5, 15, and 30-year payouts. To me, I'm going for 30. I'm going for the longest because I think my rate of interest that I'll be paid on that will be higher. And I like the idea of just not having to mess with it. I like the idea of not having to worry about investments and knowing that I have a certain amount coming every quarter. That's going to be a lot. And and I can have access to it monthly, I can get access to it quarterly, whatever. And go ahead and concentrate on the projects and paying out. Now, a thing that I've been harping on for weeks now is, could we use infrastructure bonds like they did in Iraq? They put out $1 trillion worth of infrastructure bonds to, I'm understanding, about 20 or 22 countries, but I think initially 5 or 6 countries took advantage of that. I haven't heard more about those since. And that's been, a month ago maybe? So we might have a similar situation. Hopefully our bankers are thinking about this and have a plan of working very closely with our Secretary of the Treasury, Steven Mnuchin, and the President, and other members of our administration to put together something like that, infrastructure bonds in the trillions. And don't be afraid of it. Pick a high number and then pick a higher number. Because, the liquidity that we should have and then the money that we're going to make from our quarterly payouts, unless you've got a place to use it, it's just going to accumulate. And I think we're not going to just want it to sit and accumulate. We're going to want to use it. We're going to want to use it as entrepreneurs, as philanthropists. And I'm planning to buy, hopefully, could use that, because if I am approved by Congress, this is private funding. This is private fund. Let's go ahead and offer to do this. I hope that I'm not the only one that wants to do this. I know that several will partner on. Some places, are so big that they're going to need more of these concepts around the world. Okay? We got some really cool stuff. And we'll be talking more about it. We'll be having calls about it. Not too wide, not too awesome, which is really sort of been renamed the new SWIFT. Deutsche Bank are very much involved in the process up there, along with HSBC. And HSBC, if you have that option and you're international and you're in a different part of the world, and you're like, I don't know where I want to exchange. Will I have redemption centers here? I can't answer that, but I'll say this. If I had an HSBC nearby, that's where I'd go. If I were outside the country, meaning outside the U.S. or Canada, I'd go to HSBC. Banco Popular, a popular name. Banco Popular is working under the auspices of HSBC. I'd consider them as well. Scotiabank has some of the Caribbean covered as well. So basically, guys, we are there. Your initial exchange should take hour and 10 minutes tops. You're just trying to get exchanged, set up one or two accounts, do maybe a bank wire, maybe a cashier's check. I wouldn't go in with tons of cashier's checks. You're going to be setting up a skeleton trust, and if you have your names, you better get you a list of names. Listen to that, you better get you a list. Where have I lived? Get y'all a list of names to go in for your trusts, or if you have an LLC or you want to set up a business and you have an LLC, so you can give that information and get an EIN number and be able to use your EIN with your LLC. I'm going to try to set up something where, the trust is set up, and maybe I use some sub-trusts that work post when it is we're going to have our next call and how to get to it. If it's on a new web address, a new URL, or a new podcast or whatever, you'll be able to see how to